So, Trav, this has been. I said to you yesterday, this is a show that I want to do for a very, very long time because I think there was your business, well, RBT and your business coaching stuff and UP were one of the first people I was introduced to when I started becoming a PT like 11 years ago. Man, I feel old now. And I remember going down to London with the intention of doing the first ever hypertrophy camp before I joined UP. And then at the same time doing your, London event, and like totally blew me away about the people that are in that room, the experts that were there, and the attention to detail. And I've followed you up very closely ever since. But for people who don't know who you are and what you do, give us an intro into Trav.
Oh, mate. So I've been in the industry for about 20 years. And, I feel that makes me older, mate. I've been in the industry a long time. And I think the biggest thing that got me into the industry is I love helping change people's lives, right? And I think I will be in the fitness industry for the next 20 years because it doesn't matter what happens. Like my passion is helping people change their life because I think, there's three big rocks that play in everyone's life. There's work, there's relationship or love, and there's health. And if I can look at helping people with their health impacts love, health impacts essentially their work. If they are a healthier person, they have a better ability to control their relationship and they show up better in their relationship. If they're a healthier person, they're a more confident person, which gives them a better dynamic in a work relationship. So I think that helping optimize someone's relationship with health gives them the ability to optimize their whole life. And that's what made me, love the fitness industry. And there's something about making someone just a more confident person and making them a better version of themselves. It's like, holy shit, like I got to be a part of that. And I think, it's still to this day, 20 days down the road, like I still like get goosebumps that I get to be a part of changing someone's life. So that got me into it, man. From there, like I was a big box trainer, running my own sort of thing for probably about 8 years, moving around Australia. After that, went to Canada and managed a couple of gyms there, and then went into the boot camp sort of scene. This was like in between doing all the Poliquin courses and all the rest of it, as you did back in the day. And I loved it. And I was in Canada for about a year and a half, and I came back. And I was one more year inside the whole, big box gym scenario, fitness first. And then I was like, no, I can't train people how I want to train them. I'm getting people outside the gym wanting to come in. I had to try and sell them $100 memberships to try and get them in. It was just like driving me insane. And the environment, the environment was impacting me. And I wasn't really feeling as fulfilled as I could be. So then I sort of transitioned, quickly overnight into an outdoor sort of boot camp. Within 3 months, had like 5 locations around Australia. And from that, I was like, that was my transition stage. I knew I wanted a gym, but I know I needed to transition into a gym. I didn't want to just do it overnight. Then I opened the gym, scaled from, 1 gym to 20 gyms over the next sort of 7 years. And then inside that, I wanted to start like 2-3 years in, people asking about business coaching. Obviously, that's when we first connected. And we got to scale, into this sort of business coaching scenario early on in the scene. Got to run 300 plus people events in Vegas. Got to travel the world, do catch ups. We're literally out of the country for like 6 to 7 months of every year. For a couple of years there. And overnight, so shut that down because I wasn't feeling as fulfilled from the coaching side of things. I love it, but it's like it didn't fulfill me as much as changing people's lives. So sort of transitioned back into just focusing on the core business and started a software company. The software company is Keystone, and I sort of it's always a work in progress and there's always things to fix and do and optimize, as any business is. And I love Keystone. It gives me the ability to coach people, around the world and online and, help people at, a click of a button, really. And that was sort of the last 4 years. And now fully transitioning into coaching people online, especially dads, is where I am now, and focusing on that next venture and the next avenue to change as many dads' lives as possible.
I can certainly vouch for the use of Keystone. I've used that in my business for a long time now, and it really does. It's different from any other coaching platform. There are a dime a dozen now, these coaching platforms, but it does give a coach the true ability to really be as nerdy or as simple as you like. But going into the pillars you mentioned at the start there, and I think this is why I've sort of resonated with a lot of your work over the years, is because you're more than just the bodybuilder fitness guy, like a lot of PTs out there. You have those pillars, and it is very all-around thing. Like health impacts wealth, and it impacts happiness and relationships in the same way that making some money gives you more resources to improve your health, and they all go into another. So going into the gym business a little bit beforehand, because I think that talks very much about the character of you. So you went from, as you said, one from 21 gyms and up to, I think I read about almost like $10 million in revenue. Like, why is it you think that RBT was a success when a lot of, like, 96% of businesses fail? What set you guys apart?
I think there's a couple of things, man. Like, with this, there's always different things. One, speed of execution. Two, timing in the marketplace. Three, just hard work and persistence, right? I think, like with us, like when I wanted to start ABT, I wanted to do group training, but I didn't want to jump up and down and punch pink dumbbells around, right? I wanted to get strength training in. And this was obviously before the larger CrossFit movement as well. And I didn't want to, and I have nothing against CrossFit. I think there's some amazing CrossFit boxes around the world, but I also didn't want to do Olympic lifting under high reps, which is what I see a lot of things which can lead to injuries. So I wanted to go focus around the big three. And I wanted to focus around strength, hypertrophy, and conditioning, whilst adopting nutrition coaching in there at the same time, because I feel like that was a missing piece of the puzzle, and that sort of got me into we'll put ourselves a little bit different, right? So it's like forever we had weekly calls and catch ups with our clients. We were coaching on the nutrition before softwares were there using spreadsheets and things like that. And we're really being a personalized service in a group environment. So our coaches essentially mentored up to 60 clients each. So if we had like 200 members inside the gym, there was 4 coaches there mentoring 50 each, and they had their members they had to look after, which allowed retention to stay high because they were on focus from there for their clients, and they really adopted that ownership around their clients. They were locked into classes, so it wasn't like, I can book in whenever I want. It's like, no, you come at 6 a.m. 4 days a week. Like, you show up, like that 6 a.m. is your time slot. And then all of a sudden it created this camaraderie around the 6 a.m. times, around the 6:45. So it's like the people like saw the same people every morning at the same time, and like they trained together, which created a longer lifespan with retention. And then the marketing side of things, like, we have an agency still that does marketing for businesses, and we got in the forefront of understanding social media marketing. I think that was a big thing, man. Like, when I first got my first mentor in the fitness space, like, I couldn't afford a mentor. So I'm always someone you got to learn, right? If you want to learn hard. So I got a tattoo across my shoulder. I couldn't afford him, and you had this sort of like, you had this win year of mentoring. I want to see who can rep my website the best. I was like, dude, I'm going to win this. I'll just tattoo your website on my shoulder. So I got a tattoo across the back of my shoulder. It's a website. I won that. Got introduced to some really big key players in the space, and it led me into my next mentor. I was like, hey, I couldn't afford that one at the time because I was in a growth phase, throwing all my money back into the business. I sold my car, purchased my next mentor, really looked after social media marketing side of things, and from that I could spend $6,000 on Facebook ads. I could, and still can, on a gym opening, and I can get 200 members on day one. And that I would make $40,000 before we open the doors for their first 28 days, and I would only be $6,000 out of pocket, with about $10,000 of expenses over the next couple of months. Next month with essentially the wages. So then what we would do is we'd keep 50% of that 200 into an ongoing long-term contract, and then we'd load another 100 people in month 2, keep 50% of those. So our scale, from 0 to 200 members from opening was literally like 4 months. And I think like that scale rate and that sort of well-oiled machine on opening the gyms is what gave us the ability to open. I think one time we opened 5 gyms at once in 1 month, which is pretty insane. And I was like, it was insane. But we did have a couple of gyms in the US that we ended up, selling and closing. One of them sold one. We tried to do one in Belfast at one stage. It opens, and then it didn't go the best way. But hey, it was. I'm always someone that will try anything. And I think that's the biggest thing. And, I'll double down, and doubling down doesn't always lead to success, but it does double down, and it leads to the fact that, hey, okay, I've learned something. And I think that's the biggest thing, man. Like, I was willing to learn, whether that, put my foot in my mouth at times, it definitely did. But I think systems, I think with this, right, James Clear says, which is with fitness, we normally talk about, it's like, we never rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. I think that's business, man. Like, I want to make $1 million. It's like, okay, cool, great goal, man. Like, what's your systems to make $1 million? So, like, if you don't have the systems there, and they're well, and you haven't pressure tested them to see how they would break, like, they aren't true systems. And I think we had these systems in place that really allowed us to scale fast and then hold, which allowed us to continue to replicate. When we sort of hit, I think we did hit 22 gyms at one stage. That was tough, man. I think I've got a lot to, I always have a lot to learn. We all have a lot to learn. Managing 22 satellite locations, 22 managers, 22 staff underneath those managers, different dynamics, relationships, multiple countries. That was, and the other companies at the same time, definitely put me out of my comfort zone. I learned a lot. I made a few mistakes at the same time, but dude, like, I'm 37 now, and I've built 4 7-figure businesses, an 8-figure business, and man, my entrepreneur career is just starting. So I think it also helped me identify what I love and I don't love. Right. So I know what I love in business now. I know what I don't love in business now. So I, like, for my next, what have I been? It's like 37. I've been in the business space for 17 years, like at least the next 23 years, because I love business. I'm not someone that, I'm going to retire. The next 23 years, like, I've identified what I love. I've identified what I don't love. Now I can continue to double down on what I love and what my strengths are, to continue to focus on passions, man. I think, that's it.
You mentioned speed of execution. You mentioned systems there, which I think is important both in the business sense and the health space, right? Yeah. Because a lot of people procrastinate and don't execute. But I also read something about you on my prep for this, that you're a guy that's never written a business plan. So, like, a business, you mentioned there's so many hats in terms of business. In fitness as well, you've got to be an expert in nutrition, training, psychology. With business, you've got to know marketing, sales, accountants, finance, all this sort of stuff. Yep. At this stage, like, how could you execute? How was it that you were able to execute so fast, despite being very green to it and not really knowing what you were doing?
I think you just fall forward, mate, or fail forward, essentially. Like, I will sell, like, dude, like, man, like, when I started business coaching, it was quite intense, right? Side note, people might enjoy this, listening to this story, and, probably come back to bite me on the butt. Like, when we were like 2 years into the gym, and which is when I started coaching, there was a biker club just down the road from my first club, like a bikie gang, think Sons of Anarchy, right? And like, they came to me and was like, hey man, you got 7 days to pay us $20,000 for protection money. If you don't pay us, like, you're dead. And I was like, how do I don't have $20,000. Like, how do I come up with $20,000? Like, this is insane. And like, I was like, what can I do? I'm going to start business coaching. So, like, my first business coaching was like, it was like $8,000 with $1,000 down. Well, if you don't make $8,000 in 8 weeks, we'll double your money back. And I hadn't created the business coaching yet, but I knew that I could make money and I would fail forward. And like, literally everyone made $8,000 over that 8 weeks, but I sold over 20 people. So when we started the business coaching, man, like, we sold minimum of 20 people, which is like $160,000 in sales in like 7 days. Starting business coaching, and I got 20K in, paid them, said, never come to me again. Like, I've done my thing, whatever it is you think I've done. Like, if you come again, I'll just leave the country. Like, you can't, and some people are like, oh, you shouldn't have done anything. I was like, man, like, I just didn't want to be a part of whatever was going on. But, I look at it, life happens for us, not to us, right? So that happened for me to push me in an avenue that allowed me to start coaching businesses, and also help push, I believe it helped push marketing forward across the fitness space around the world at that time. Some of the biggest coaches in the world that you hear today was I coached, and I got to help them understand building their business at that time. And I got to play a part in their life. And I loved playing parts in people's lives. So I think, sometimes you need to have an idea. I need to know that, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can execute that idea. In my head, like I'm a pretty good with numbers person, but I also have like a massive self-belief. So it's like, I think if you doubt yourself, you're always going to look at what's going to go wrong. I always look at what's going to go right. Which is like, it shoots me in the foot at times. But I think that's why, business plan, man, like, business plans change all the time, right? Like Mike Tyson says, like everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face, right? So like a business plan is great, but it's only as good as what's happening in the current environment. Like imagine if you had your business plan and COVID happened. It's like a business plan you can use for toilet paper, right? It's just not worth it. So I think you have to have a general idea. Like I always knew, like my first thing was like 216 members, $50 a week, 570K. That was my business plan. That's what I wanted to do. Gym one. It's like, how do you get them? I was like, trust me, I'll get them. And then adapted and kept moving forward because like as you start to move into things, you can feel the marketplace and feel the landscape, and then you can move. Otherwise, everyone's just sitting there with a business plan, never taking action. But if you start taking action, you can model what's happening in the marketplace, change your pricing structure, change what you're delivering. It's like we're doing 2 sessions a week then. I was like, no, I changed everyone to 4 sessions a week and I increased the prices. Like I am doing you a disservice without allowing you to only train 2 times a week. So from now on, we will refuse to sell this membership. We lost some members and we increased a bunch of our members, and overall our income was exactly the same, except we had less members. So it allowed us to grow our income and get more members in. So it's like, when we look at it, man, like I think you're always adapting. You're always looking at how can I optimize? How can I innovate? And I think, when people if you sit in the corner, always worrying about what's going to go wrong, the world's going to move past you. And then what went wrong is your business model is too late to market now. And you lost the chance. I think that's the biggest thing, man. It's, we need to have enough forethought of what we want, see the next tree in front of us, right? And we just need, it's like the forest through the trees, right? As long as you can see that next tree, that's all you need. And when you get to the next tree, okay, just look for the next tree, next tree, next tree. And all of a sudden you've made it through the forest. And all the other time people are still trying to figure out how to use a compass and they never got through the first tree. So I think that's the biggest thing, man.
It's interesting to hear you talk about like the 2 sessions to 4 sessions a week thing. Is when we look at marketing and you look at business coaches and marketing advice, everyone talks about having a niche. Everyone talks about, and obviously we'll get to yours, which is very specific in the benefits of that. But like everyone thinks about a niche of this is my marketing plan. It's for dads or it's for group training or something else. But you actually changed your product to make it a better serving thing for your niche, which I think is so overlooked. That you actually said, well, I need to have a good product for my niche first before I can ever really, truly market it well.
Yeah, man. Because like when I looked at, again, like if I roll it back, it's like, why did I get into this space? It's like to change lives. And I was like, I'm not changing lives at the rate that I want to change lives. So I can no longer sell this service because I'm out of integrity. I think if you always roll back to why you're in this space, if you're in the fitness industry to make money, it's, man, go do crypto or something. Like, there's way better, easier ways to make money. Like make some NFTs, like do what you need to do. But it's like, I'm in the fitness industry because I love changing lives. Like that's what I'm fucking here for. So it's like, I rolled it back and I was like, well, they're doing 2 sessions a week. We're not impacting, and we didn't give those people nutrition coaching either. We only give the full people nutrition coaching. So I was like, you're not getting results. You're literally paying us to be your friend. It's like, man, we got enough friends. You don't need to pay me to be friends. Like you go sign up somewhere else and waste your time there. If you're serious about getting results, you stay here. We do nutrition coaching and we move forward. And then it put us back in an alignment with integrity as a business and allowed us to push forward. And I think, when you always have to come back to your values and go, is my product in line with my highest value? And if it isn't, how do I need to change my product to be in line with but I could make some more money if I sold this instead. It's like, no, man, it's not in line with your values. It's not about making more money, because if you're in line with your values, you can make as much money as you need to up here, but stay true to the course and be the best at that. And like, that's what you need to focus on. I think too many people are worried about the money they're going to, lose on the table and then not worry about the money that they're going to make if they actually stay the path and focus on that integrity and, aligning with what they truly are here for.
Do you think in that sense that a lot of people, it's better to have one core offer? And obviously you've had many hats, but in terms of business, it's better to have one product you do really well rather than different packages generally? Do you feel that's normally a better, because you can master it?
Oh, dude, 100%, right? So it's like when we look at this, man, like we used to have, I think there's always an intro offer you can have, especially, you can do it with the online space and the offline space, but I think for PTs, even for group training and semi-private, people need especially in the current landscape, right? You don't need as much of an intro off with online business because it's not as old, right? So like you didn't need an intro offer 12 years ago when I started gyms 13 years ago, because again, group training was like, hey, I'm doing group training. Like, oh, wow, there's no other group training around. I'll do it with you. Whereas like now it's like, okay, cool. There's 500 group training places on every single corner. So it's like you need the intro offer. They try, hey, you guys are what you said you're going to do. I'll stay on, right? And, online training, yes, there's a lot, but there's not really a lot. Everyone says they're online trainer. It doesn't mean there's a lot of online trainers. Saying you're something and being something is two different things. But when we look at it, man, like I think if you have the intro offer and then you're like, okay, cool. After the intro offer, okay, what is the product that's in aligned with your value? It's like, okay, just sell that. And it's like, oh, but what if they can't afford it? It's like, trust me, if they think you're good enough, they can afford it. If not, you aren't good enough. So it's like, it's really simple. And it's like, oh, but everyone else is charging like $100 a week or $150 a week. And like, people aren't buying me at that. It's like, okay, cool. The market is saying you aren't good enough to charge that. So you need to get better or actually communicate your value better. Like either way, like I've had people getting second jobs. I've had like that, they'll find money if they think you are worth it. So it's like intro offer, core product, best product is highest aligned with your values, sell that, get it to capacity. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I think also it's understanding what is the point of diminishing return also with your business model. Where it's like for us, like I honestly think like group training, the diminishing return happens between 160 to 180 members. So like if you're looking at we're talking a lot of business, but it's like when you're looking at like semi-private studios, right? So if you're having a cancellation rate of, let's just say 5%, right? So if there's 5% and, about 5%, would say there's 200 members, obviously we're losing about 10 members a month. 10 members a month means, we need essentially like 20 new members a month testing our product to keep 10 members on the back end to hold that 200 members a month. So it's like, okay, cool. I need 20 new members a month. Okay, I need 60 new leads a month to get those 20 new members. And it's like, okay, that's fine. Okay, I can do that. So there's a sweet spot around 180 members where you need just 18 new members a month to test and try the product to keep your business humming at a good profitability. When people build their business model, I'm going to have 300 members. Okay, well, 300 members means like you're going to lose a lot more because your cancellations actually start to increase when we go past that because community starts to dissolve. So you start to move towards like the 7.5 to 10% cancellation per month. So all of a sudden you start losing 20 members to 30 members a month, 20 to 30 members a month. I need 40 to 60 people trialing my business every month to actually maintain my 300 members. Shit, okay, I need 120 to 140 leads as a minimum to maintain that. Okay, is that viable? Probably not. Okay, so now what is my minimal viable like capacity to just stay there with, and it is probably possible, but the amount of stress like to push against the roof, I was like, is it easier to just have 180 members and then open up a second gym with 180 members? Yes. So then just duplicate rather than pushing to the absolute capacity, duplicate your service and then rinse and repeat, right? The same as online coaching with a niche. And, for us, it's like, looking at like for us growing online business, 300 dads in Australia. I think that is the pressure test for us at the upper end. And then what I'll do is just duplicate 300 members in the UK, 300 members in the US. It's like, it's easier to duplicate with a small team rather than let's scale it to 600. We need to move to multiple marketing channels to do that. Need to, just get to your easiest path, least path of resistance, hold, duplicate. And it's simple, man. I think that's the biggest thing people miss.
You talk about competing on price, and I always remember something that Jordan Shallow told me once. I really stuck with me. It's like people who try and like lower their prices to help more people, the people that might not be able to afford their services. You'll find those people probably still can't afford your service if you decrease that price. They're still in that position where if they generally can't afford it, they're not going to be able to afford anything. So the best way to help those people is to charge more to free up some more time so you can respond to more DMs. You can provide better content. You can be guests on podcasts or run your own. You can do more for those people for free if you charge your services appropriately.
Yeah, man. Also, I think you got to look at this, right? Like I can give you the exact model on how to, grow $1 million business or to, get in the best shape of your life, right? I'll charge you $10 for this thing. Okay. So you get this PDF. It could be literally the blueprint to have the best life ever. I paid $10. Now, if I paid $10 for something like, Men's Health magazine it's like $10 probably, right? Like how many times, what do you do with the Men's Health magazine? You chuck it in the toilet, you read it once, it goes in the bin. Right. So that $10 piece of paper, the worth of that is nothing. If I charge you that same piece of paper and I charge you $1,000, I charge you $2,000 for that same piece of paper, you will frame it, you will read it every morning, and you will follow it step by step by step by step because you're like, this is worth something. So what you're doing is you're decreasing the value of your product, but you're decreasing the perceived worth of your product as well. So people don't take what you say seriously, which gives them inferior results, gives you bad reputation, and then is doing a disservice again on your highest value, which is to change lives, because you're changing fucking no one.
Before moving into the DAS program specifically, you mentioned that people will find money if they think something is valuable enough.
Good. Yeah.
And as this brings me back to a story I heard about you, which I think is always worth retelling because I think it's very entertaining. Talk to you about the history of RBT and infrared saunas.
Oh, dude, 100%, man. Like I think like 3 months into RBT, dude, like I didn't have money to pay my first month's rent. And I think this was the key thing. Like when I first opened up RBT, I didn't even have enough money to pay for the equipment. So I was like, I found
you lived there as well, right?
Yeah, I lived upstairs. I couldn't even fit out the full gym. I found a new upstart equipment supplier. I was like, dude, don't have the cash to open it up, but trust me, 516 members, $50 a week. I'm making $570K. I'll pay you. I was like, you give me the equipment and I'll pay monthly. Okay. And then I'll pay it off over 12 months. So he gave me enough equipment to fit out half the gym. I started paying him monthly. I was like, if I miss a payment, we had a contract, he would collect the equipment. Happy days. He was getting a new client because he was new to the industry, new to his startup, and I was getting equipment so I could start. So I got my equipment, and month 3, I was like, holy crap, like I don't have enough people in yet to cover my rent. And my rent for my first gym was like $110,000, like a year, like 55,000 pounds. It was like, I went big. And I was like, I don't have this 10, 12K to try and pay this. I was like, how do I do it? Well, I don't want to essentially, I didn't have the ability to bring in a discounted service into my current business because I didn't have the capacity to take on that many people. What's a sub service that could also help my members? Infrared sauna. So then I had a member who worked at like a Groupon. I was like, hey, can you get me on Groupon? We can sell infrared sauna. She's like, you don't have one. I was like, oh, well, don't worry. And so literally I didn't have an infrared sauna. And we talked back and forth. It was like 14 days before I needed to pay that 10 to 12K. Everyone would have been like, being right, you're an idiot, don't open a gym, you don't have any money, you're going to fail, all the rest of it. And if you listen to the naysayers, you never get anywhere in life, right? But so I was like, I didn't want to be proved wrong. So what I did is I got this, I went to Groupon. They're like, you don't have a website with it. So I pulled a couple of images off Google. It's like, look, this infrared sauna. It's normally $99 a month for 2 sessions a week. And then essentially they got this deal up. I think it was $19 or $17. I can't remember. It was 12 years ago, but I've got actually a screen capture of how many it sold. And they launched this Groupon for infrared saunas, and it was 8 visits over 28 days. And over the next 14 days with the Groupon, they sold I think it was $19,000 in total of infrared saunas. There was 800 people bought infrared sauna vouchers. I was just mind blown. And out of that, essentially, they took about a 4K cut on the top. We took 15K. It was a couple of days before I need, as it came through, it was a couple of days before I needed to pay it. I got $15,000 in. I paid $12,000 to the landlord for the pay for my first month's rent. I called up J&H Saunas, which is the company I got it off. I was like, I need you to express deliver me a sauna now. It cost $2,000 back then for the sauna. I didn't even have a sauna, and I had 800 people coming. So they expressed it to me. But on the voucher, I said you can't use it within 7 days. So people had to wait 7 days. So I got the sauna, and I had $1,000 in my pocket. So I manifested this $15,000 out of nowhere. And then from then on, I had a sauna in my gym that essentially was paid for, and I had 800 people come and use the sauna that I could cross-sell to use my gym.
And all these people that don't act because their product isn't ready or their life isn't perfect to get in shape. And you have that story. I just think it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, man, I think you just got to act.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think that's always a good story to get people to sort of like take action on whatever it is, health, fitness, business, anything else, right? If you can do that with a picture off Google, someone can get themselves in the best shape of their life. Do you think your confidence is something you've learned or something that you've inherited? Because confidence comes through all of this. It's ballsy to do what you just did. It's ballsy to open up 21 gyms like that. To close them, to move into online. Like, there's a lot of confidence in everything you do. I think
you got to always be in line with where you're headed over the next 5 years, and that would be the difference to close things, keep things going, or whatever you're choosing to do. And I think people oversell the worst case scenario, like we talked about earlier. It's like, for me, man, like the worst case scenario, like I lose some money, I start again. Worst case scenario is like you tried keto and you found out you loved burgers, so you start a new diet. Like, the worst case scenario is you just start again. Like, life is long, but we act as if it's short. So it's like, instead of like, we don't try things because we're afraid of failure. But man, I've failed so many times in my life. Like, I've been engaged twice before Liv. I'm married to the best person in the world. Like, I tried a couple of relationships. I went all in. It didn't work out. Like, I found the love of my life. Like, I've moved around the world. Like, I've started different businesses. Like, I think, we only have memento mori, right? Like, we only have death is inevitable. We only have a certain amount of days on this earth. People are living life as if they have two. And I think that's the issue. It's like, you have one life. Like, every single day, there's 86,400 seconds. It's like, stop wasting seconds. Take chances, kiss the girl, start the business, get healthy, and you'll probably have a few more years. But like, if you look at it, it's like, stop acting, living your life like you aren't the hero of your story, right? You're like the person in the grandstands watching it happen. It's like, no, like, step in, right? Like, step up and like, just take chances every single day. And you'll swing and you miss, but if you take a chance every single day, right? What was Babe Ruth struck out nearly more than every single person in major baseball history, right? Major League Baseball history, but he also had nearly more home runs than everyone, right? You have to swing to hit the home run. It's just everyone's just too afraid to swing. And I think that is the issue with the lack of home runs in the business space.
It's Wayne Gretzky, wasn't it, who said that you miss 100% of the chances you don't take?
Exactly, dude. And I think I love sporting analogies because they come across into all aspects. I love using analogy because people can understand, right? And I think if we can use them as metaphors in the health and the business space, people can go, they get motivation from it. They can understand it better rather than like, you should just take some action.
It's really powerful because, again, every time we have a conversation about the slightly morbid inevitable, is always about life is short. But it's interesting here you take that other side of it in the sense of like, well, stop acting like it's tomorrow that you end and protecting yourself. And I see that. Hopefully this one doesn't get me cancelled, but we see that here so much in Hong Kong with how COVID it's still rampant. We've just come out of a gym lockdown here. And I see people press lift buttons with tissue paper and wipe underneath the tables and wipe the cutlery in restaurants. And I'm like, you get hit by a bus tomorrow. Like, dude, if you're that worried, don't leave the house.
Mate, 100%. I think like when I was 17, or when I was turning 18, like I wanted to become a professional rugby league player. And when I went to trial with a bunch of clubs, I was in Canberra for the Raiders. And, at the end of the day, I probably wasn't good enough to play professional rugby league. at the top tier. I ended up playing Australia and juniors and all the rest of it, but it is what it is. When I was at Canberra, I was in off season with them, and I got meningococcal. Meningococcal is a bacterial disease. It kills a bunch of people. I got it sharing drink bottles. I passed out at my mate's house. Flatlined 4 times. I was in intensive care for 3 months. Had kidney failure, and like I literally died 4 times. I came out of that. I went back to football, broke my neck, did my knee. From there it was a sliding scale of injuries. But like I remember seeing it. I was like talking to my strength and conditioning coach friend Tony Merrick at the time, who has some gyms over in Perth, and I was like, he's like, dude, like you're 17, like you just go to the next thing, right? Like just move to the next thing, and that's when I got into the health and fitness space. But I look at that, man. It's like I've already died, right? Like, if COVID's going to get me, like, get me. Like, if a car's going to get me, it will hit me. If I jump on a plane and it crashes, it will crash. Like, I can't be so afraid of dying that I'm too afraid to live.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing, man. Like, that doesn't mean we go out of our way to do stupid things, but it doesn't mean that we stop living our life because we're afraid that our life might kill us.
Yeah.
I think that's the crazy thing.
That's mental. That's something I said I didn't know about you at all. And like it, it's we see it here. People are so scared of living here, and it's something that's it's weird. It's alien to me that I'm not scared of this at all. As I said, if it's going to get me, it's going to get me, and it's not generally that the end of the world it is anyway.
Yeah,
not turning to
exactly, man.
warning.
Yeah, not talking to a COVID podcast. It's like, dude, just be healthy, right? Like, I think if you look after your health and we used common sense, life is fine. And I understand there's outliers. There's outliers in everything. Like people get cancer and die every day. Like that really sucks, right? Like there's outliers there too. Some people probably should quit smoking, but some kids who are born have cancer and they die. So there's outliers in like every disease. But I think like with everything we can do is we try and focus on being the healthiest version of us. We're trying to optimize ourselves for success against disease. And I think if you can do that, then live your life, right? That doesn't mean you aren't going to get hit by a car. You probably could tomorrow. But like, as long as you tried your best, I think that's the biggest thing. But you can't stop living in case something comes to get you, right? And then you're paralyzed by fear.
I suppose as well, people aren't often present in things. You mentioned failures, but like everyone could look at, I don't have enough money to pay the rent as a failure, but you have all these stories that technically look as bad moments in your business that have turned into big positives. And people look at, this is what went wrong. Like I moved to Hong Kong, an analogy for me. I moved to Hong Kong in 2019. I came here immediately as the protest started. So I never really experienced Hong Kong. Then COVID happened. So I came here for travel and it didn't happen. And I can look at that and say, this is a waste of 4 years. It's a bust. But at the same time, I got to experience a different culture. I got to jump out my comfort zone. I got some experience that I never thought I'd do. Like there's so much benefit, but people don't look for that. They look for the bits that are the negative aspects, and you can find good. And if worst case scenario, I haven't traveled as much, I can do it next year.
Exactly, man. I think as human beings, we're programmed to always look at the negative side of things. It's just how we are. We never want to look for the upside because in our social circles, typically you don't go up to your friends. It's like, oh, I had the best day ever. We always normally go with like, oh, this happened to me today, blah, blah. And then like if your friend had a shitty day and you had a good day, we don't tell them about a good day, but also, which we should, and they should be happy for us. Okay. But also we always try and one up people on how bad our day was. So we never want to one up people on how good our day was, but we always want to one up people. Oh, I had a bad day. Like I pulled my car. Oh, you had a bad day? I got hit by a car. It's like, we're in this culture that always looks for the worst, always try and, it's based on being a victim, but I don't want people to get upset with that word. Like victim being, essentially like we get significance from winning in life and also losing. People are always looking for significance, okay, and attention, okay? So you can either be the biggest winner or you can be the biggest loser. and it's easier to be the biggest loser to get the significance, to get the attention, to give you connection, which is a human need, so you feel loved, right? And like, I know it's like a stepping stone to get to that, but that's essentially what we're looking at, right? Like, we just want connection. Sometimes we get connection by winning. Sometimes it's easy to get connection by losing. But like, I think as a society, one, we are afraid of that whole crabs in a bucket. So it's like, as we're doing good, we get pulled back down because, crabs trying to escape a bucket, crabs pull them back down. They say, hey, don't leave my circle. As a society, we're also afraid to talk about our successes because we don't want to make our friends feel like shit. But at the same time, we're afraid now that our friends will try and pull us back down because our potential starts to disrupt their beliefs on what they believe is possible, and they do start to pull us back down. So I think, we have to understand, it's like, man, like, do you win every day, yell it to the fucking ceilings? It's not arrogance, it's you enjoying your life that you were living your life. Let them live their life, right? Like, and I think if we can do that and then understand that life happens, for us, not to us, like every obstacle or every punch in the face, like Mike Tyson we talked about earlier, every punch in the face is like for you to learn something. So rather than like, oh, that was a failure, it's like, no, it's like, okay, what am I going to learn here? What is life trying to teach me? Or life's trying to teach me to be a better leader. Or life's trying to teach me to manage my finances better. Or life's trying to teach me to get more resourceful. Like, life's always trying to teach you something. You can either sit in the corner and complain about your obstacles and what's in front of you, or you can understand what is life's lesson today. And if you actually step up to the plate, which is that obstacle, and we can learn from it, the life lesson, then we become the next version of us because it's expanding our comfort zone. And if we always step into the obstacles, we can either step forward into growth or retreat to safety. I think Abraham Maslow talks about that. So if like we're constantly stepping forward into growth, we're expanding our ability of our comfort zone. And the bigger the comfort zone, the larger your potential. And like, when we're looking at this, like every step forward, we expand every single day for our comfort zone, we're actually going to get to the end of our life and realize our true potential. Like, what we were here for, how much impact we could have had. If we're constantly retreating and not, edging our toe forward, dude, like if you don't edge forward over the next 2 years, that's 2 years you took off your ability to reach your potential in life. Like, you'll never get there now. You don't know what you could have been, it could have happened to you. You don't know how far you could have gone. You wasted 2 years. You're like, oh, the pandemic, I couldn't do stuff. It's like, you could have, right? Like, you just lost 2 years of not taking action. And I think, like again, coming back, like, life is short. Like, you could die tomorrow. So like, use today, expand every single comfort zone you could try and break to try and find out where is the limits. And you'll get knocked back sometimes, but at least you find where the limit is of your potential at this moment. And then when you reach that limit, okay, what I've got to learn right now? And then you go, okay, I've got to learn this. And then exactly. And we move to the next one.
So talk about like increasing people's potential. Obviously, the business now is improving dad's shape. Yep. Why dads?
Dude, I think dads is the biggest thing because when we look at it, there's a couple of things, right? Like, obesity is, over on the climb. I think it was like somewhere between like 65 to 67% of people are overweight or obese, like, parents. So when we look at that, I think the stats also are, 30% of kids are overweight or obese if their parents are, okay? Whereas a normal weight person, 8% of kids are overweight or obese, okay? Now, when we look at teenagers who are overweight or obese, 80% of overweight or obese teenagers become overweight or obese parents or adults. So if I look at, I can change a dad to becoming overweight, to becoming normal weight, I can change the environment and the language they speak about health in their house. So I can change a kid to not be overweight and be normal weight, which impacts them as an adult, be normal weight, not overweight, which impacts their children. So for me, dads, changing them to be healthy is a generational change. Yeah. So I'm not impacting the dad, I'm impacting his kids and his kids' kids, right? So like for me, like, dude, if I could change 1,000 dads, that's 1,000 families with 1,000 kids with with 2 kids. Like, it starts to compound out with their kids. It's like the reach that I get to have. And again, if I reflect back on why I got into this industry in the first place, which is to change as many lives as possible. Like, me changing dads' lives is that ability to change as many lives as possible because I get to create that generational change. And I think, that's what aligns the most with me. I'm a dad, and I understand the constraints, and I understand, when you change a dad's life, you change their energy. They play with their kids more often. They're more present. They don't. They normally tend to drink a little bit less alcohol. They have less brain fog. Their relationships tend to get better. They have more success with work because they're more confident, and more confident people get raises. There's the studies around that. So all of a sudden, like, we're making more money. We have better relationships with our partner, okay, because we feel more confident and more sexually attractive. We have the ability. I also think there's an ability when you understand nutrition, dieting, and discipline to have a carryover effect in your, because you have to handle your emotions, right? So, teach you how to handle your emotions, stimulus response, expand the gap, choose the best version of yourself and what they would choose to eat. Okay. Carry that same tool into relationship, argument with your partner, stimulus response, expand the gap. What's the best choice in here for me to move forward? And all of a sudden, if we can teach someone a tool inside their health and fitness, they can take it across into their relationship. They argue less, they have more connection. If someone's meditating, doing some box breathing, if they're doing some gratitude, they become a more calm person. They see more positive around them. Their outlook changes. And all of a sudden, they're like, man, like, I'm a happy person. I haven't felt this happy for so long. Like, my relationship with my wife is so much better. So, like, you're impacting every aspect of their life. It's like, fuck, I love coaching dads. Like, because it's not just about health. It's about literally generations of change and impacting someone's complete life.
It's amazing. I say this might almost a broken record, but I say this in every podcast, that it's amazing how every show comes full circle, and we've just gone back to those 3 pillars again. But yeah, we spoke about business earlier on, and obviously everything you've done, so you've mentioned with the group training, there was a demand, there's a need. So you've also mentioned the benefits of why dads and what the impact that could have. But obviously there are challenges that dads must be facing, and we see it all the time. People can hold in shape to get kids, and all of a sudden it starts to slowly unravel. So, like, what are some of the biggest issues you see that dads particularly face when it comes to their health? And what challenges did you face becoming a dad? Because I followed you for a while, and you seem to have gotten in better shape since you've been a parent. So why was you the difference?
Yeah, man. Like, I think there's a couple of things. So the challenges they face is, I think people become one-dimensional or even two-dimensional. When we become one-dimensional, we tend to, I just got to focus on my work because I've got to provide for my family, right? Business. All of a sudden, they lose their relationship with their partner, lose the relationship with their health. All of a sudden, all they've got left is work, and they don't have marriage or essentially their health anymore. And it's like, okay, two-dimensional. Okay, I can only focus on my health, and I can only my work, and I can only focus on my relationship. I'm going to be there as dad. All of a sudden, their health suffers. They can either die early or they don't have energy. So it's like, for me, it's like, it's helping them with time management is one of the biggest things. It's like, I don't have energy. It's like, yeah, you don't have energy because you're 20 kilos overweight. Here's a 20-kilo dumbbell. Carry this around for the next 24 hours and tell me how much energy you have. It's like, of course you have less energy. You're carrying 20 kilos more than you should be carrying. It is draining your energy every single day. Not to mention the emotional energy of continuing to pull your shirt down, continue to feel like you're not confident, you're walking into a room and just not feeling like you're your best self, pressing snooze because you can't get up because your sleep routines are like out of whack. Like, the energy you're spending focusing on being overweight is crazy. So if we take that same energy and focus it on actually losing the weight, which actually increases your energy, it takes you to the next level. All of a sudden, you're like, man, I've got so many hours in the day now. And it's like, we all have 24 hours in a day. It's just like, some of us use them better, or some of us have more energy within those hours. Like, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be present at what you're doing, but it's like, dude, like, sleep 7. I know it's like 7 to 8 hours. Like, some people can sleep with 6, but like, sleep 7, that doesn't mean, but that's the problem. I think people spend like 10 hours in bed or 9 hours in bed. It's like, I'll go to bed, I'm going to look at my phone for the next half hour. I'm going to like wake up at 5 a.m. or I wake up at 5. Yeah, what time do you get out of bed? Like 6:30. I'll scroll my Instagram, say, dude, like, go to bed at 10, get up. Like, it takes the average person like 16 minutes to fall asleep, I think. So go to bed at 9:44, get up at 5 a.m. Like, start your day. Like, oh, but and then people will start coming up with the excuses around, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. It's like, man, like if you want to be better, you will find a way. Like stop finding excuses and find a way to get the job done. It's like, can you take 15-minute walk twice a day during out your work to get your steps up? Yes, I can. Can you train for 30 minutes 3 times a week? Yes, you can. So time constraints the biggest thing with dads. Education is a big thing also. And peer pressure is a big thing also. Okay, so when we're looking at those 3 things, I was like, dude, like, and I said this to one of the other guys the other day. He's like, oh, we have a luncheon, right? And this is like, I told him to pull the dad card. He's like, we have a luncheon every like 2 weeks with my dads. Normally I have to drink with them. If I don't drink, they get on my back. It's my business kind of thing. I was like, man, like you go in there and you tell them, hey guys, I'm going to lose 20 kilos. So I'm not going to drink today, because I'm making my kids a priority in my life right now, and I want to be the healthiest version for them. Is that okay with you? I was like, no one in their right mind would tell you to go screw your kids. Like, but don't worry about it. No one, like you just pulled the kid card. No one can come back from that. So you just won the argument, debate over, don't drink, right? And it doesn't mean you can't drink. It's just if you're in a situation where you know you're going to have 23 drinks, it's like, don't drink then. Right? If you're in a situation where you know you can control your drinks to 3 or 4, drink then, right? So I think it's helping them become self-aware, because we have a lack of self-awareness on our habits as well. So constraints are time, essentially a bit of education around nutrition and peer pressure. So they're essentially constraints. Comes into environmental factors. Okay, what are the triggers in the environments that tend to need to put on the not or stop doing list. So when we start coaching someone, it's like, okay, let's not even worry about what we need to start doing. Let's focus on what we need to stop doing. Okay, because if we can stop you doing some dumb shit right now, we're already winning. You're going to lose weight before it's even starting to change anything else. It's like, oh, I normally have 10 beers on a Friday, which makes me eat this on a Saturday and this on a Sunday. Okay, stop having 10 beers on a Friday. Okay, there we go. That's our stop. That's what we're going to ask coaching this first week. Stop drinking on Friday night. That's what we're going to focus on. And that's it, right? It doesn't have to be like, you got to have 182 grams of protein from like the grass-fed cow on the Eye of Newt. Like, it doesn't have to be so complex, man. Like for my niche market, it's behaviors, and it can't be too hard, because you can make it too hard, then like they don't do it because they've got so many other things in their life. So you make it easy, small, simple steps. Okay, let's like follow this. This is like ideal. Here's 2 choices for breakfast, 2 choices for lunch, 5 choices for dinner. Okay, this will hit your protein goal. You don't need to have more than 2 choices for breakfast. Like you can have a shake or you can have some eggs. Like which one do you want? Oh, okay, I'll have shakes on Monday to Friday and have eggs on the weekend. Fantastic. What's your go-to place you go for lunch? Okay, cool. This is what you want. Okay, if you're making lunch in the morning, what are you going to take? You're going to take that chicken salad wrap. Okay, fantastic. If you prep on the weekends, what are you going to prep? So we've got 3 possible choices. This is what you eat for the next 4 weeks for lunch, right? You enjoy all 3? Yep. Okay, cool. That's it. Dinners. What are we going to have for dinners? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, cool. I know what we're going to have for dinners. Now, all of a sudden, we understand calories. We understand protein. I don't even care about your fats and carbs. Hit your protein goal, stay under our calorie goal, 2 things to focus on. You understand the foods that actually hit that. You enjoy every single one of these foods. And you can have 2 beers a day. And the max you can have in a day on a weekend is 4. You have the beers, you drop the carbs. Very simple. Like, man, like the more we can make things paint by numbers for like my niche market, the easier it is, and like the ease of execution for them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Peer pressure and time management, both of them are really big ones, but peer pressure I think is a huge one. It's a shame that in 11 years of doing this and working in multiple countries and mentoring a number of trainers now and seeing their clients, is that I've very rarely seen a result where peer pressure or people's words or actions didn't affect their result. And you used a great example there of going out and not wanting to disappoint the boys for having beers.
Yeah.
Why is it, do you think, that people struggle with saying that they're on a diet? I see a lot of people don't want to admit they're dieting or don't want to say they're doing this or don't want to say they've got a coach. Why is it that you think that some people struggle with that more?
Because it's them owning the fact that they're fat. Like no one wants to own the fact that their past decisions over the last 10 years got them to a place that they're upset with. And if they're upset with it and their friends are upset and their friends are the same, that means they're essentially think their friends are fat as well. So their beliefs start to impact their friends' beliefs. And that's when people say you shouldn't go on a diet, because like if you go on a diet, you're going to lose weight and I'm going to feel more uncomfortable because it's going to make me own my fact that I'm overweight. So like, dude, like that's the biggest thing. We don't do things, we don't say it in case one, we have this massive fear of failure. Because what if I tell someone I'm on a diet and it doesn't work again? And then all of a sudden they're going to know that I'm a loser. They're going to know that I'm a failure. And we don't like people to know we failed. But at the end of the day, is like, I think we have to get over the fact we already talked about, failure is inevitable. We'll fail at so many things in our life. The faster you fail, the faster you win, right? So it's like, people need to own the fact that, you will fail. Tell people you're on a diet. It's completely fine. If they don't support your diet, they actually aren't your friend. And I think people are too afraid to understand that my friendship circle is my friendship circle since I was 4 years old. It's like, happy days, good for you. That doesn't mean it still should be your friendship circle, right? Because we outgrow people with different facets of our life. And if you need to grow, you need to change your environment. You probably know the study, but it's like if a mutual friend is obese, we are 50% more likely to be obese. I think that's the stat. So it's like, dude, if your friends are fat, like you're going to be fat. Like maybe find some fit friends. And that's not saying that, okay, your friends are bad. It's just maybe just over the next 12 weeks, over the next 16 weeks, find some new fit friends and start to adopt their environment. Because I tell you, you're about a bunch of fit people and you say, hey, I'm on a diet. No one's going to shame you. Everyone's going to support you. Same in business, right? No one, the haters are the ones who are below you. They'll always talk shit. We always talk shit about people above us, right? People above you pull you up, grow your business. Let me help you. Let's have a call. Let's have a coffee. Like, let's grow, right? Fit people never shame the fact that you're trying to make change. It's like, let me help you. What are you doing in nutrition? Hey, try this recipe, try this thing, change that form, right? Like, that's what they do. They pull you forward because they're doing better than you and they want you to feel what they feel. People are overweight and you're changing. Again, the spectrum from fit to fat, you're changing. Okay, no, we want to pull you back over this way because you're starting to break my beliefs as a person. You're starting to make me second guess myself. You're making me feel more self-conscious. I don't do that. What's the easiest way in life to feel good? Make your building the tallest or rip the tallest buildings down. It's easy to rip the other buildings down because all of a sudden you feel good again. So people pull you down because that makes us feel good. Yeah. So I think that's why peer pressure is the problem. Yeah. Because one, we give a fuck about what people think way too much. And two, if they don't support your diet, then they aren't your friend, and we're afraid to hear the fact that they aren't our friends.
Yeah, people look for justification of their own actions as well, right? Like I always say, like the person who brings donuts into the office will always give it to the person dieting first, because if they have one, it makes them feel better about me having one, even though I've probably eaten 3 on the way to the office. Yeah.
It's like this is like there's the hero version of us and there's the victim version of us. Victims make justifications and excuses. Heroes take a responsibility and accountability for their actions. Okay, so you can either be the hero of your story or the victim of your story. We talked about this earlier. Like you can be the victim of I'm pressing snooze because I can't train. I can't get my steps in. It's like, stop telling me I can't. If you said you're going to do something, I think like when we look at this, right, like it's like identity, behaviors, character traits, right? The identity. Okay, when I look at like dads, right? Fit dad, fat dad. Who are you right now? Okay, I'm fat dad. I don't identify as fat dad, but okay, cool. If you were to call you something right now, what would you call yourself? I'm a fat dad. Okay, fantastic. We've clarified your identity is fat dad. What is the behaviors of the fat dad? Okay, the behaviors of the fat dad is I essentially eat whatever I want. I'd sink the piss. I don't move. I have low energy. Like this is my behaviors. No worries. What's the character traits? One, I make justifications. I make excuses. Like I lie to myself because I say I'm going to start a diet, or I say I'm not going to drink the beers, and I don't. I say I'm going to get up and work out, and I don't. So, okay, the character traits are not the best. Okay, what's the identity of the fit dad? Hey, I train 3 times a week. Hey, I nourish my body with the right type of food. Hey, I make a conscious effort to move and get my steps in because I know it's important for my health and overall health. Okay, fantastic. That's the behaviors of the fit dad. What's the character traits? I take responsibility for my actions. I own my failures and my stuff up so I can learn from them, right? I am honest with myself and respect myself. Completely different character traits, completely different behaviors, completely different identity. James Clear talks about, right? Like identity creates behaviors, behaviors create identity, right? Which one came first, chicken or the egg? But I think awareness precedes change. You are running an identity, whether you realize it or not. If you create an awareness around the negative identity or the identity you don't want to be and the behaviors and the character traits from that, and then look at the identity you want to be, okay, and the behaviors and the traits, then you essentially like be times do equals have. Like I think Brian Tracy maybe talked about that. It's like be the person, okay? Have the character traits and the identity. Be the person, do the work, which is the behaviors, have the result, which is being fit that. It's coming back full circle with that.
And do you think the answer to this is, you kind of answered that question, but is education more than anything else? Let them know that people are going to be like that. So when they do, they're aware that it's going to come and they know where motivations are.
100%, man. Like if you tell someone something's going to happen before it happens, like they're like, okay, cool. Like you've already, like I always talk about this, right? There's the WHOOP scenario, wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. Okay, so let's look at the wish over the next 12 weeks. What's your wish? Oh, okay, cool. I want to lose 10 kilos and get some abs. Okay, fantastic. What's the outcome that we need to essentially achieve? Okay, I'm going to train 4 times a week. I need to follow my calories or meal plan or whatever you're giving me. I need to do my 8,000 steps. Okay, got my wish, got my outcome. Okay, what about obstacles? Okay, I'm going to tell you a couple of obstacles you might not know about. You tell me your obstacles. Peer pressure, nights out, like, okay, cool. We've got our obstacles. Now we make a plan to overcome our obstacles before they arrive. Okay, so now we've made a plan to overcome the obstacles. So when the obstacles do come over, they're less of a roadblock, which stops us in our track, and they're more of like a detour. Like you're still going to get to your end destination. You just take a detour and go around it, right? So all of a sudden you create a WHOOP scenario with them, and you couple that with if, when, then. So if, when this happens, then I do this. So you go, okay, what are the top 5 to 6 if, when, then scenarios that you're going to play? 3 on nutrition, 3 around training. Okay, let's play them out. So now you're aware of these if, when, then scenarios as well. So then all of a sudden you are being aware about a scenario that could hold you up. But if this happens, then I do this. You're already pre-committed to a plan to overcome the obstacle, which allows you to use it as a speed bump and didn't stop you in your tracks. And you're like, those 2 scenarios, you're like, fuck, I just feel unstoppable, right? Like, I just feel like you're telling me what could stop me and have given me the tools to move past it so I never actually get stopped. At the same time, if you screw up, we look at iterations, right? Reflection plus projection equals essentially growth. No one reflects enough. Right. So every single week with the coaching, man, like or even daily, I tell my guys if they can, reflect back on the day. What went well, what went wrong, what can I do better? If you do that daily versus weekly or versus monthly, that's like 7 times before the weekend that you could have already been better. And it's like, you've already, like, instead of doing the same mistake 7 days in a row, you caught it on day 1 and you had 6 great days. So reflect every night. Okay, what went right with and you have to be obsessed about something if you want to change it, right? It's good to be obsessed if you're trying to make change. So it's like, okay, what went right with my health today? What went wrong? What can I do better tomorrow? You do that every single day, right? Just write in the journal. On Sunday, you can look back. Okay, what went right on the week? Okay, well, I hit like 3 sessions and I hit like 8,000 steps and whatever my calories on Friday. Okay, what went wrong? Well, I went to a work event and I realized that, okay, when I go to a work event, I'm prone to overeating snacks with the tapas and all the rest of it, okay, because I was hungry and I didn't prepare. Okay, what am I going to do different next week? Well, next week, I'm going to have a protein shake before I go, okay, and I'm going to have a vodka soda and then a soda, a vodka soda and then a soda. So I have 4 drinks, 2 alcohol drinks, protein shake before, and I won't snack on the tapas, and that's my focus for this next week. So all of a sudden, you did it daily, you did it weekly, next week's already better because we're essentially self-teaching with self-awareness to move forward and changing, our standards that we hold for ourselves.
Yeah, I've realized very much like I'm like refining the check-in process that I do with my online clients, and I'm providing more multiple choice and logic jumps within my check-in form. And the reason I'm doing this is exactly that point. It's that people aren't very good at reflecting. So you have these questions. So I always go, what's your biggest win of the week? What's your biggest struggle? And how are you going to overcome that struggle next week? And I often find a lot of the times the people who are struggling the most are the people that don't give very good answers here. They don't know how to identify it. They only see the negatives. When it comes to things that they're struggling with, it's very, what is it? Training. What about training?
What?
Elaborate. And I was like, right, I need to provide some options here. Like, okay, here's a list of things that you might be struggling with or other. Give me this. And then you can direct yourself into a trail of thought. Because it's amazing when you look at people's written feedback. Either they're hesitant because they don't want to admit why they're failing, or they don't know how to actually assess it. Either way, there's a gap here that needs to be filled.
Yeah, because I think people like when people like to make choices, and then people, once they do make a choice, if they need to elaborate, they don't know which thing. So I think when we're looking at this, if we can reflect back, and there's like, you know, let's just say there's four key pillars, right? So maybe it's like your sleep, it's your caloric intake, let's just say that, for example, your training, you know, your volume, whatever it is, and your steps. Okay, let's like these three. Obviously, you can break these down further, protein intake, all the rest of it. But let's like look at that. It's like, okay, rate yourself 1 to 10. Okay, personal reflect. Rate yourself 1 to 10. Okay, okay, I was a 7 in my nutrition. Okay, fantastic. What would have made you an 8? I was like, oh, I wouldn't have done this. Okay, now if there was one thing you can do next week to push you to an 8, what would it be? I will do this instead. So it's like, you know, people, like, we can scale ourselves quite easy. And then when we scale ourselves, we can identify behavior to move us to the next notch. Okay, because we're breaking it down, and we're taking away the plethora of options and single focusing us. Do the same around nutrition. I was saying around training. Oh, I was 6 hour in training. Okay, why? There are 3 sessions this week. Okay, what can we do better next week? 4, fantastic, right? And if they are doing 4, what can I do better? Well, I look like the volume this week was this, or the volume next week can be that, or whatever it is, right? Like, they can identify things. Depends on the spectrum. Like, some people could be like, they're like a 2, but they think they're an 8, and then you actually have to have an intervention with them, right? It's like, you know, dude, like, you're not an 8 out of 10 with your nutrition. Like, you had KFC 3 times, you know, 5 days of the week, right? Like, that's not an 8. Just because you stayed under your calories doesn't mean you're getting healthy. And it's like, you're not actually increasing your nutrition IQ at all whatsoever. You're just picking off some stuff off a menu to you know, lose some weight, which will also lose some muscle mass, and also your internal body is not happy. So sometimes you need to intervene. It's like, dude, like, from what I'm seeing, okay, so like looking at like 360 reviews, like in the workplace, but you're doing them with the health, right? You're saying you're an 8, you're actually a 4. And this is the reason why you're a 4. And this is what you need to do to actually get to a 5. And that's where self-coaching comes in, with coaching comes in on top of that. So they can go, oh, okay, cool, I understand now. Because everyone, like, if you scale someone's nutrition IQ out of 1 to 10, most people are really around the 2 or 3. They don't understand nutrition, okay? Just like I don't understand plumbing. Like, I don't, right? So you tell me how to, you know, change a toilet, I'll be like overwhelmed and have anxiety. So like that's where I'm 2. Do I want to get to an 8? No, like, the ability to change a toilet does not increase my capacity of enjoyment in life. So I don't need to increase that. Increasing someone's nutrition IQ from 2 to 8 changes their complete life for the rest of their life. So I think it's also helping them understand that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. And especially when it comes to nutrition, because there's so many misconceptions about nutrition, whether it's good foods versus bad foods, or just, as you say, filling numbers. The amount of clients where I look at it and go, how is your nutrition speak? 5 out of 5. Like, and there are guys like 150 kilos eating 1,600 calories, not losing a pound. And I'm like going, are you really a 5? Because I don't think you're doing this very well.
No, exactly. And I think, like, and that's what's breaking it down, right? Like, I think for us, I always go, you know, did they achieve the weight loss we're looking at? Like, because I do phone calls. It's like, did you achieve the weight loss? Yes or no? And if they did, then I'll still scan their numbers. Okay, did volume go up with their training based on our program? You know, did they hit their calories? Yes. Or were they way under? You know, did they hit their protein intake? And then I was like, oh, even if they won, it's like, okay, you won, but next week I still want you to do this. Like, you know, high 5, also do this. If they didn't achieve that 1 to 1.5% total weight loss, I'll look at it and it's like, I scan the numbers. It's like, okay, cool. The reason why we didn't do this, dude, is because, you know, what I'm looking at, what you're eating, you're not actually using one of the key tools in success, which is using implementation intentions to forecast what you're going to eat. You're not tracking your food the night before. Okay, so we should pre-plan everything we're going to eat and we already do it in Keystone the night before, because then you just wake up and you do, right? You don't have to make choices. The ability that you're making choices in the moment, I can see from the foods you're eating, you're making choices in the moment, right? So you need to pre-plan your foods. And it's like, and even if you do this for me, okay, all I want you to do is if they financially have the ability to do it, which is actually quite cheap these days, I want you to buy 28, okay, 28 pre-made meals for the next week and follow that, okay? Because they're like, oh no, I'm sticking to my calories. Like, trust me. It's like, okay, I believe you, but I want you to try something for me. Like, I want you to try, like, breakfast, you have this, lunch this, afternoon this, and like dinner this. It could be like, 2 main meals, like a pre-made sort of breakfast and a snack for the afternoon. And they follow that for 7 days. All of a sudden, they lose like 2 kilos. It's like, yeah, man, because like you weren't following a calorie deficit. Like you might have thought you were, but the pre-made meals gave you the exact calories and they put you in line. So what we're looking at is the principle of the calorie deficit worked. Your method to achieve it did not. So we can either refine your method or change your method. So refine being increase your ability to cook for yourself. Let's make sure we're prepping on the weekends. Let's like whatever it is, or we change the method. It's like, okay, you're doing pre-made meals for the next couple of weeks so we can continue to lose the weight. So your motivation increases. So then you have the motivation to learn how to cook because you can see this actually works. The strategy is on point. And I think like Pierce Steele? I think he wrote the procrastination equation. Like, motivation equals value times expectancy over impulsivity times delay, right? So numerators versus denominators. So we want to have high numerators, low denominators. And if we do that, motivation stays high. And motivation on weight loss in general, motivation in training, and motivation in nutrition, and motivation in sleep, right? So if we look at this, the value placed on the goal. Okay, so why do you want to lose weight for a dad, right? It's like, oh, I want to lose weight because I want to, lose 10 kilos and feel better. It's like, no, dude, like, why do you want to lose weight? And I tell them some stats about like kids and all the rest of it. And they're like, okay, I want to lose weight because I want to be a better role model for my kids. I was like, okay, cool. How badly do you want to be the best role model for your kids? 1 is like, you don't care. 10 is like, you care about your kids. It's like, dude, I want to be a 10 out of 10 for my kids. Like, what type of question is that? It's like, great. Our values here. Right? Expectancy to achieve the goal, right? Most people are really low at the start, which is why I put them on a slightly big calorie deficit to start with to get buy-in, because expectancy shoots through the roof. Motivation goes fucking like that over the first 3 weeks, and I've got buy-in. Now, like I tell them to eat shit, and they'll eat shit, right? Because they're like, you're a magician. You've actually got me to do something I haven't done before, right? So we need to buy the expectancy, because most people have tried like 17 diets, they haven't lost weight, and it just doesn't work. So expectancy, like why 10 out of 10 for the value? The expectancy is like 3 out of 10, probably a 5 out of 10 if like they've hired a coach, right? If they do it by themselves, it's like a 1 out of 10, right? So then it's like 1 times 10 equals 10. Okay, now we look at essentially what's the distractions, okay? Well, is your house full of distraction? Tim Tams. You live with like your housemates. Okay, they have takeout. Your beers on the, beers inside the house. You can't say no to. Okay, workplaces, they're distractions. Yeah, like we get pissed every Friday night. Okay, fair enough then. Okay, what about I play footy on the weekend still? Okay, what happens after footy? Oh, if we win, we get smacked. Okay, cool. That's an environmental distraction. So we look at all the distractions and we go, okay, it sounds like your distraction's like a 10 out of 10. We need to bring that down to a minimum of a 3, okay? So it's like, okay, how do we optimize our environment? How do we optimize our work environment, our home environment, our weekend environment, right? And then we sort of work it down to a 3, because at the moment, if it's a 10 and a delay cycle, I'm gonna lose 10 kilos in 12 weeks. The delay cycle is so long, the Parkinson's law kicks in and we do nothing, we do something and then we do nothing about it for like 8 weeks until like 2 weeks before the deadline. And we're like, oh, I'm gonna do the lemon detox diet and try and lose 10 kilos in 2 weeks. So it's like, so all of a sudden the delay cycle is like a 10, like 8 to 10, because it's like this arbitrary 12-week number. So I'm 10 out of 10, okay, on my environment, my distraction. I'm like an 8 out of 10 on my essentially my delay. So like that's super high. And then when I'm looking at the top numbers, like they're screwed up as well, because my value might be high, but my expectation is low. So all of a sudden, of course, I'm going to fail. My motivation is going to be low. So what we need to look at is like crank your expectancy up, bring your delay cycle to 7-day check-ins, because then let's set goals and let's win. Winners win. Winners get winning streaks, right? And that's how it works, right? We want to make sure that you feel like you're winning every single 7 days, because if you feel like a fucking winner, you're going to win next week as well. And then we look at the environmental distractions, and we bring that all the way down. So we bring the denominator so low and the numerator so high. Motivation goes to an all-time high, and you just fucking like kill it. Like you just like, I'm hungry. I'm hungry for results, and I'm hungry to do this transformation because you've created this world that increased my motivation and made it so simple for me to win. I think that's the key to motivation.
I couldn't agree more with so much of that. The one question I would have though, so especially in an online format, and this might be slightly different now, you've got maybe the calls are the answer to this question.
Yeah.
But you often find when people lose motivation for whatever reason, or lose momentum, let's say, so they've had a bad day or a bad week and they hit that fuck it button and it's start again on Monday. You often find one-to-one, you see them in your gym, people would have come in, they've had a bad week, they're there. So you can literally go, okay, it's all right, don't worry. But on the online space, you'll see people not show up to calls, not check in, disappear from contact. But how do you combat that with the 7-day check-in cycle you mentioned? How do you keep them checking in, even on the weeks that weren't perfect?
It's trying to teach them at the start, right? And I think we talked about this at the start. It's like awareness precedes change, or education gives you this ability to move forward. And it's like, okay, cool. The people who get results in life are the hero of their story, not the victims. And I'll use this hero and victim, right? The victims, when they have a bad week, they hide. Okay, when they have a bad week, they don't show up to calls. When they have a bad week, victims, they make excuses, they blame everyone else, right? The hero takes responsibility, and the hero takes ownership. So there will be a point in our coaching where you have a choice to be a victim or a hero. Like, you don't seem to, see like you're a victim to me. Would you classify yourself as a victim? And I'll say no. I was like, fantastic. So like, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it does happen to people where they do stuff up over like a 16-week journey. Like when you do stuff up and there's a hesitation on booking a call, there's going to be a thought in your head where you hesitate. The hesitation is the victim creeping up inside you. Okay. That moment is the moment. It's the moment that we're like essentially confronted with an obstacle that we want to retreat from, because remember, we always step forward into growth or retreat from safety. You don't book a call because you're ashamed of what you've done. You are, right? This is how we are as people, because I said I was going to do something and I didn't do it. But you need to book a call because you need to take ownership and responsibility. And you can only move forward in life when you own what you've done. And when we have that ownership, we can make a plan together to make sure it doesn't happen again and negate the bad habits or the triggers. And they're like, okay. And then if someone hasn't booked a call, dude, like I'll message them. It's like, dude, you're being a victim. And it's triggered the whole conversation. It's like, dude, you're being a victim this week. And like, done. And I'll have a VA, that if anyone doesn't book a call, he'll scan my week and he'll let me know. And I'll send him a message and I'll say, hey, bro, you being a victim this week or what? And he was like, fuck, man, sorry, I'm booking a call now. And then we have some honest conversations. I think your coaching is only good as your ability to be the friend that they wish they had.
Yeah.
Like they aren't there to be they aren't there. They're paying you money, right? Like to do a service. And, like most people, it's like, oh, like I've lost 10 kilos, or I've lost 15 kilos. And I'll say to them, my friends are saying, hey, you look really good. I was like, man, did you say to them, did I look bad before? And they're like, no. I was like, dude, like real friends will tell you when you're fat. They will. So I was like, and like real friends will tell you when you're screwing up. And like, I'm going to be the realest friend you ever have on this journey. I'll call you out on your bullshit. I'll make sure that you own your miscomings, your justifications, your blaming, and I will change your identity and the way you carry yourself on this earth, because I will call you out on everything, because I want to be that person that changes your life. Like at the moment, you're living a mediocre life, right? A mediocre life is a 67% overweight or obese person with 30% likely to have overweight kids, with 80% likely to be overweight adults. I don't want, like, I'm sure you didn't wake up one day when you were 18 years old and you're like, I'm going to have a mediocre life. Like if you did, like probably shouldn't be doing this coaching conversation. But if I want above average, I want great life. I want to have great energy. I want to have a great relationship. I want to be a great role model for my kids. It's like, man, like that is the person I am for you. And I am the person that will call you out on every motherfucking thing to make sure you become great, because good is the enemy of great. Mediocre is where you are right now. We're going to fucking step it up every week for 16 weeks. And that only works if we have a relationship built on me being honest with you and you being honest with me. And that is brutal honesty. It's not just honesty, it's brutal honesty. And I think people understand that, and I respect that as well. Some people can't handle it, but that's okay. Some people need that. It's too much like soft love in this world. It's like, oh, you're okay, I'll cuddle you into success. It's like, you can't fucking cuddle anyone into success. Like, you need to, like, you can tell, like, you don't be guilty. You don't shame yourself. Okay. Like, we either win or learn. It's like, we never shame, right? But like, you can't just go, oh, it's okay, I'll try again Monday. The people that try again every Monday are going to be the same result every single year for the next 20 years. And all of a sudden, they've just always lived that average, mediocre life.
But that goes back to what you were saying earlier on about people don't want to take ownership of the fact. So I'll start on Monday. It's that vision of Monday's me is going to be better cope to dealing with this rather than now. I'm not admitting that I'm fat now, because don't worry, Monday's me will sort this, rather than going, no, I need to make actions now. And I love that analogy about like the rent-a-friend, essentially. I've mentored trainers for a number of years now, and I see a lot of trainers, and a lot of the trainers come in early on and they're like, I don't want my client to not like me. I don't want to upset my client. And the way I always reframe it is like, the quickest way for a client to dislike you is them feeling you've wasted their time and money.
Yep.
If you like me, it's a bonus. But if I get you the result, that's the biggest hurdle overcome. Yeah.
I do that, mate. I completely agree. I tell them, it's like, guys, like, like I said, like, I will be your best friend, but because I'm going to be the one that tells you the truth. And, with the truth, it means you probably won't like me, but you might not like me, but I'm going to change your life. And I think that's the biggest thing. And that's like the same with the coaches, and they'll do the same thing with the clients as well that we have underneath the online coaching. It's like, you can't, but then people are afraid to be brutally honest in case. It's the same reason we don't, like, most guys don't ask a girl out at the bar. We're afraid of negative feedback. If you actually are brutally honest with someone and they come back at you with a retort, we're afraid of that retort. We're afraid of that reaction. It's like, man, like, if you're speaking the truth, like, whatever the reaction is, it is. You can't change the way people react, but you can only change the way you act. And if you're, again, values, okay, the integrity me, the values driven me, is this someone that needs to actually say this right now? If I don't say this, am I doing them a disservice? Yes, I am. I must say this.
That is a great way to close off the conversation. And I literally could speak to you about this all day, but I know how busy you are and I value your time very much. So just a quick closing question. You've referenced so many mentors in this. You've got a tattoo based around mentorship. So as a closing question, what's the biggest lesson someone's taught you in both health and business?
I think the biggest lesson, man, like, honestly, probably Tony Robbins, right? Tony Robbins, I've done his business mastery, I've done all that sort of stuff. But I think the biggest thing is like the state, the standards, the strategy, or the state, the story, the strategy is the one that stuck with me the most. It's like, I'll try and be a person that lives at a higher frequency. If we're ever in a conversation, I'll try and be the person with the energy that lifts you up, right? I want to be the person that lifts you up. If I'm like, whether we're in a conversation with someone or on a call with someone or whatever I'm doing, like that's what I love to do, because I want to raise the frequency. And I think, like, for us, the stories we tell ourselves are only ever negative when we're in a negative state. Okay. And the stories we tell ourselves we're in a negative state, it's like, okay, I feel like shit. Okay. So, like, essentially we're in a low frequency state. The stories we tell us, I can't lose weight, I just feel like ice cream, I've had a hard week, all the rest of it impacts the strategy. So all of a sudden we do a piss poor strategy which impacts the results. So business, like, we look at all those three, this impacts the results we're after, right? So make sure that if your state drops, energy drops, understand what you can do to increase your state, because that is the biggest thing. Okay. So music, Like music increases state, jumping on a trampoline, going for a walk, whether you want to stand in a power pose, like do your thing, right? Like, but there is multiple avenues to increase your state. Okay, when you tell yourself a negative story, be aware of it and ask yourself, am I telling myself this story because of the state that I'm currently in? So awareness precedes change. Yes. Okay, change my state. Bang. Okay, if I'm telling myself my story, stories and words are powerful. I can't ever lose weight. Okay, cool. Have you not ever eaten for 30 days straight? No, of course I haven't. I was like, well, you can use weight. You can lose weight. So the strategy's out there. Okay, so don't tell you've tried everything, okay, to lose weight and you can't, because you have not eaten for 30 days straight. Because trust me, you will lose some fucking weight, right? So it's like not the fact that you haven't lost weight yet, you just haven't found the right strategy that fits inside your constraints that gets you the job done. So it's like change that to I can't lose weight, or I never can lose weight, to I can lose weight, I just haven't found the right strategy yet, but I'll keep looking for the right strategy until I find it. Okay. So we have to truly impact and change the story we take. And then if you have the state and story down pat, you will move to strategy to strategy to strategy without this unwavering focus and belief that the result will happen. It's just a matter of fucking time. And I think those three things, those top two, which go in this like infinite loop, impact the strategy. And we all choose shitty ass strategies at the time, but that doesn't mean you aren't going to get the result. It's just you fucking ran the wrong strategy. Move to the next one, bang, result hit. We just fall short because we use one strategy or three strategies and we think we're going to be a millionaire or we're going to lose fucking all the weight and get abs. It's like, dude, like, no, you've got to try all the fucking strategies. I'm going from clean eating to fucking paleo to like, I've
done
done
them all. Yeah.
Trust me.
I remember Alan McDonald's Ultimate Diet 2.0. You lost loads of weight,
right.
but you felt like you had a sugar hangover on Monday. Never again. I've done every one.
So it's like I've tried them all, but like, I've tried different marketing, I've tried different sales, I've tried so many things. And I know the strategies that work right for me, but that also doesn't mean it'll be right for you, right? Intermittent fasting works good for me only because it's for me. That doesn't mean intermittent fasting is right for everyone. Okay, it's right for some people, but I work it because it's right for me because it works with my nutrient time, okay, and works with my lifestyle and my constraints, okay? But let's just stop like putting blankets. Oh, the reason why you didn't lose weight because intermittent fasting. The reason you didn't lose weight because keto. It's like, no, the reason you didn't lose weight because your current constraints, being the dad or being the busy person or being the whatever you are, the strategy needs to alter to fit the person, okay? Stop trying to make the person fit the strategy. And that is the issue with the industry.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So for people that want to find out more about you or dads that want to get in shape, how do they get in touch with you?
You can find me on Instagram. Just send me a message on Instagram. Travis_Jones_fit is my Instagram handle. Just find me there and just have a banter. Have some chat.
Awesome. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for taking the time to jump on. I've really, really enjoyed the show. Thanks again.
Cheers, buddy.